Alright, example 5.4. Rather than having a separate function to compute the sine of an angle in radians and in degrees, create a new function, sin angle, that can compute either depending on the specification of the user. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm back over in MATLAB, exactly where we left off from the last problem. So I'm going to start by clearing the workspace. And then to create a new function, go back to New tab, under the Editor tab, and Script. Start by adding my percent signs for indicate my documentation. And so this will be function to compute the sine of an angle x, where x can be in either degrees or radians, depending on the user specification. Okay. So then my signature, we'll start with the function keyword. So function output variable res is equal to, we're just told to call the function default sine angle. And so now in terms of arguments, we're going to have two. One will be the angle, and then the angle can be in either degrees or radians. So we'll have to have some sort of flag variable which indicates what units we have. Okay, and I'll end it up. Cool. Okay, and so now thinking about that flag variable, let's add that to our documentation. Okay, so how about if flag has a value of 1 assigned to it, angle is in radians, otherwise, let's see, if flag has a value of, say, 2 assigned to it, we'll assume the angle is in degrees. And if flag is not 1 or 2, let's default to radians, but we'll display a message. Okay, cool. So if I come back to our function, okay, let's get this set up. So if flag is 1, and then we're going to assume the angle is in radians. So if we just get the logical structure set up, so if flag is equivalent to 1, okay, then we said radians, okay, and so then res will just be equal to the sine of x, where sine will compute the sine of an angle, where the angle is in radians, okay, else if, okay, flag has a value of 2 assigned to it, we are going to assume degrees. Okay, so then res would be equal to, we can use just sin d, the built-in MATLAB function, or we could use our sine underscore degree, either or. Then I'll add an else. It'll be an improper flag assignment. Okay, so we'll display a message, improper flag assignment defaulting to radians. Okay, which point res would be equal to sine of x. Okay, and if you wanted to, I believe in the example in the text, we return a value of NaN and display an error message as well. Either could work. Then we have our end statement here to end the logical block. Okay, so save it, sin angle. Oh, notice I forgot a semicolon there. Okay, so now for my command window, I do sin angle. So now I have an angle in degrees. So let's do 45 degrees. So since it's degrees, flag value of 2. Okay, get an answer of 0.7071. Okay. If I were to check for the equivalence with pi over 4, so angle in radians, right, I get the same answer. Life is good. Okay, cool, excellent. Okay, so this is correct and done, but let's take a second just to play with it just a little more. Okay, so I'm going to save a copy of this. So let's call the sine angle S. Okay. Oh, actually, just for completeness, let me go back to sine degrees or sine angle. I forgot to paste the signature up top there. Okay, get an extra return. Okay, so if I go to sine angle S, okay, I'm going to update the name of my function there. And I'll make sure I copy and paste the signature at the top. Okay, and so what I'm going to do here is, before for this flag variable, I use a string, and so in general I prefer strings. Okay, or not strings. Rewind. I used integer. Right, so in general for flags I use integers. Oftentimes students like to use strings. So we'll give an example of how you might use a string. Okay, so remember the issue with logical comparisons with strings. Is a string is assigned as a vector of characters. So even if I were to assign flag, okay, so if I had, say, B is equal to flag, okay, it's actually a vector of characters, so the second element of B is L. Okay, and so if you do logical comparisons with strings where that string is a word, then it's actually doing a vector comparison, which we'll talk about momentarily. Okay, so one easier way is maybe I just want to use a single character. So R if it's in radians, D if it's in degrees, and then if it's not R or D, default to radians but display an error message. Okay, this way, if I'm only using single characters to describe everything, then the comparison is straightforward. Okay, and so then if flag is equivalent to radians, and MATLAB does this with things like the sort function and such. Right, and so it doesn't, when it's sort, doesn't have ascending or descending as an option. It has, A and D like this. Okay, so if I save it and I go to run it, so instead of 2 for degrees, I can do a string of D. Okay, improper flag assignment defaulting to radians. So what did I do? So flag should be assigned to that string, and then it's comparing them. Okay, so that should be a logical 1. So if I do a variable assignment, then I check. Okay, logical 1, it should be true. So what did I goof up in here? If flag is equivalent to R, signed. If flag is equivalent to D, degrees. Make sure. Oh, duh. The issue is I'm not calling the right thing. So if I clear that, okay. So I called sine angle. I need sine angle S. Okay. And now it works. Okay. Cool. And there's even an example of me not calling the correct file. Excellent.